Hey everyone, I'm Tassenix, and welcome to Plotting and Scheming, the Grand Arena focused podcast centered around the top 100 of Kyber 1 for Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. I am joined by most of the regular team here with Dagger, TJ, and Fatal. Sasha Aisha couldn't be with us here tonight. But gentlemen, it was a red letter week. I went 3-0 against legitimate matches, all three rounds. And Fatal, let me know if this sounds familiar to you. I fought Zid 3 times this season. You remember way back when you and I fought 3 times in the same... I don't know if it was in the same season, but it was definitely in the same consecutive 3 weeks of Grand Arena play.
Yeah, I think it was like we hopped across like a 5v5 to 3v3 type shit. But yeah.
So that was fun, seeing Zid so often and Pumper and all that this season. But going 3-0 for the end was fantastic, and I got to flex a little bit of the Set 20 Datacron magic. We'll have more on that later. But Dagger, how about you? How'd the season close out?
Well, I'm sad that TJ's no longer with us. But yeah, I went 3-0 this week.
What's the joke? Did he drop out of the chat? Did he get hit by a bus? What are we doing here?
No. He was with us. Now he's no longer with us. He might be later, but I'm leaving that part out. He's currently occupied, is the point I'm trying to make. But I wanted to hit him with he's no longer with us because it's kind of funny. It implies something else.
Don't look at me.
Not a professional humorist over here, I see.
No. I was saying, like, you could imply that that TJ has to use a online friendly unalived, and it was meant to be funny, but whatever. No, I went 3-0, but I don't know. It doesn't feel. I haven't felt like having gone 3-0 for like the last 3 months. I still don't feel like I'm going 3-0. I cleared two. Like this last round, I fought against somebody who messaged me. I told you about this. He messaged me and he's like, I guess you bought your win. And I'm like, just clear these two zones and watch you.
So do I need to go? You know what you could give him? You should go give him the message I got, where I should die. Was it cancerous death? Mine was way better. So
no,
you may
I
not
agree.
be like us, but
I'm just saying, like, it doesn't feel like I'm going 3-0 because, man, I am really not looking forward to having to actually put the effort in 3v3 to clear the whole board. Because that's going to take like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Anyways,
but you may not. You may get to a point where you're still continuing because I don't think
I'll be in
at
Kyber
level.
1. I'll be in Kyber 1. Man.
But you're the back end, though, right? So there may be
There's
some
like 400 people in Kyber 1. There is no back end.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I've never been.
Actually, I think there's like 650. But my point is, the back end of Kyber 1 isn't
650 too many, if you ask me.
There you go.
There can only be one.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. All I'm saying is, man, like, I'm not looking forward to GAC becoming an actual chore again. GAC's been pretty chill. And I see the end of that coming soon.
Now, for you, the astute viewer out there, what you should be hearing in between the lines is, I've been gleefully feasting on free matches for the last several months, and now that I'm approaching the first elements of what some might even presume to be challenge, I'm just kind of about it. Is that a reasonable synopsis?
That is not what I said at all.
I feel like that's what I heard.
I appreciate you inserting words into my mouth the same way you insert this podcast or things that sound like this podcast into yours.
Only the properest of P and S will be inserted into Dagger's mouth, is what he's trying to tell you.
No. I'm just saying, man, like the last time I was in Kyber 1, I had so many issues with time constraints. And I'm not looking forward to that.
I do remember the Dagger can't be a part of us because, yes, it was hell for him. I do remember this.
It's true.
Yeah, right. And my kids have their activities ramping up already because it's almost spring. Like baseball's just starting, softball's going to be starting soon. Like, anyways, you get the point I'm trying to make. Like, it's a confluence of my life is going to be hell, and GAC is not going to be the escape. But I digress.
Fair enough. All right, TJ, how about you? How'd it wrap up?
Dude, 3-0.
Right.
After all the setups stuff like that, where it's like they're not like us, and like, no, I'm still just like us because it was a good week, man. So everything we talked about, and then all of the hard work and the failed attempts finally came to fruition. And I know we'll talk about it all, but it did feel good going 3-0, and the slacker was the monster maker that kept me there. So it was a good week.
Fair enough. All right. Fatal, I didn't catch every stream of yours this week, so this will be kind of new news to me. How did it go? This is when you finally got to enact the plan, right? The plan you developed in week 1, meant to enact in week 2, but didn't have it locked in for, and now you actually had it week 3, right? So how did it go?
The narrative was more so it didn't exist week 1. It was just like it was a big cookout for week 2 that didn't get to come until week 3. Anyway, 2-1 this week, and the one loss was pretty much off of the back of one single mistake that otherwise I would strongly argue I was in position for an easy 3-0. I mean, I don't know if we want to talk about it now or later, but yeah, the plan that I was experimenting with is I wanted to see if we could approach a super team fatigue strat being viable, where you just post enough shit in the right combo that even if players are posting light, you can at least like get a hold or two out of them. And generally, if someone's playing for efficiency and you get a drop out of them, that's like not always on par with the board clear. Obviously, you have to play finish clean, but you know, it's in that vein, right? You're taking 20 banners away from someone trying to play for points is usually catastrophic in their favor. That like you can even be a little bit lazy and not count banners in some of your fights, and you'll still get a pretty comfy win. And even in the match I lost, that goal was achieved. So,
okay,
yeah, I'm content with where I landed.
Nice. Well, I mean, we can go ahead and kick off our first segment, meta-analysis, and we of course we have an agenda, but Fatal, if you're eager to talk about this super team, that's kind of interesting. I'm curious. Let's hear about this.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a replacement for the cheese meta, but I think it's. I mean, honestly, it was kind of. I forgot what it felt like to play for Fatigue in 5v5. Because, like, for example, like, the first match is the one that I lost, so I wasn't even sure what to expect. But, like, you know how it is when you, like, work on a defense and you're excited and you actually, like, bother to put in Prime Bot so that you get notifications of when shit's happening.
Sure.
And, yeah, I posted the defense and then started getting notifications that my opponent was attacking. And it was just like, opponent has scored 65. Opponent has scored 63. Opponent has scored 65. Opponent has scored 62. For like the first 10 battles. And at that point in my head, it was kind of just like, fuck it over.
You know what's funny is I could picture Fatal's face of a big smile, right? When they're just like Christmas morning, and then as it got slower, it's slower. The smile is getting smaller and smaller.
But here's the thing. Is like, we still kind of associate 3v3 with Fatigue just by like, the base nature of the format. I forgot what 5v5 Fatigue felt like, because getting holds on the 11th team was the entire nature of the game. That's just what it was. And so I just wasn't... it had been so long since I actually did it that I forgot what it actually felt like to be on that shit and to actually be playing for it. And so lo and behold, 10 teams dead, the 11th team, comes in, and I get a hold. I get a second hold, and it's like, oh shit. Like, yeah, the plan actually successfully executed. All right. But yeah, I'm not saying, like, the thing I'm trying to be clear here on is I'm not necessarily selling that this is the be all end all. It's just if you're a heavier defense style player, if you're working on the newest, latest, it feels like a possible trend that the game is running in, that I'm definitely kind of looking at the new Bad Batch and the Jedi Guardian. What, Jedi Vanguard? Jedi Vanguard.
Yeah, Vanguard. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is possibly being in conversation with, where if you just make your 11 defense teams of a high enough quality, you can put out more pressure potentially. And I think that would be pretty lovely. I think that's something I would like to see happen.
Well, I know that we were fairly unanimous in our concern coming into this season that it was going to be a one-shot and or a cheese meta. And a couple different things, created with the addition of Dark Ray, Set 20 sneaking into week 3. People doing super teams like Lord Vader, Maul, Malicos, Starkiller, Night Sister, stuff like that. Other concentrate teams definitely made defense matter. And I kind of liked that I could see, based on my opponent's history, it's like this guy's too good to set something of the likes of Trench against. I can't set anything, I don't know, worse than Saw Krex on my defense. And that was a cool feeling. And I know that even just as recently as the previous 5 vs. 5 season, it wasn't that, that interesting.
Well, it's funny because part of the test for me was like, what quality of teams am I seeing? Let me tell you, I literally was seeing Trench and Zori and Grievous Stap type shit posted on defense. I was still managing.
Some of your opponents were just placing just straight up goofs. Like they thought that they didn't know maybe that what they were placing, so maybe you didn't know what you were going to do with what you would never expect. I don't know, but some of those choices that your opponents were having on defense just made no sense to me.
Well, to me, what it speaks to is someone saying, "I just want to hold all of the answers possible so that I can just have 11 comfort fights." And to me, the sign that like, hey, I'm not saying that this is like 100% amazing, but I'm at least kind of achieving some of my goals here. Is okay. I'm still actually managing to put out some pressure on people who wanted to have the answer to everything available to them. And so, I don't know. Like, yeah, it's something that I simultaneously don't know if I'm even going to be able to pursue it next season, because I think Darkside Bulk actually has helped generate some of the leverage that the season afforded. So, we will kind of see what happens, or maybe HUD Cartel and that sort of stuff steps in and helps generate some leverage instead.
Yeah.
We'll have to see how things go. But yeah, like I didn't really hear anything about like LV UFO super teams, but like I was exploring more like the LV Treya side of shit, where I know like people were like, "Oh, die as a Zori" or whatever, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm putting Savage on the lead. Go Zori that. Go live your dream. Have fun," type shit. And then yeah, I kind of messed around as well with set 20, but honestly, we don't have data is such a frustrating thing. This would have been the week that I would have loved to have had data to like really be able to.
Absolutely agree.
It's always
absolutely
a pain.
agree.
It's always a pain, guys. I don't.
The Fatal's play, it's like I literally had to take screenshots and pictures because my round 3 was probably the best I had all season on a dude. It's like we'll go over it. It's like I don't want just one piece. I want the time to go, because the guy, he set such a crazy, in my opinion, fatal defense. He literally had my jaw dropped when I opened the board and saw what he set. And we're talking, he set all the good stuff. I was not prepared. And what we're talking about, the only difference I'll go from fatal is that we just have so much resources that yes, I had to 5-shot his Leia team, and I had to like 3-shot this team and 4-shot this team. It was a literal knockout bloodbath, one of the best I've had, because it was so good. And then I had the one, as Fatal said, I had 1 hold, 2 hold, 3 hold, standing strong, and that's how good the fight was. He took a gamble, and Noah's like Delman Cedar, I think he's been in the top plated all like that, less, but such a good defense. He put Balin, he put Leia, he put so many things that you would need, and still cleared my 6 GL defense. I actually placed good things, left myself just enough to go, and cleared it, got it to the back. But we'll talk about it. So I said, such a good thing that I would love to see in the data, because I would want to know what held and what didn't. But it was exactly what Fatal said.
Yeah.
He set Balin up the top. That was a 4-shot, because the way he set it, I could not clear it. He set Treya LV. He's been setting it all season, and I had to go gamble on Inquisitors, because there has the potential to work, and it did before, but it did not this time. So I had to 3 or 4-shot that one. So that's what it was. Like what Fatal's talking about, I was to the brim exhausted off of fights. And if he made one small change, like he put Baze on his Ahsoka team, because he didn't want the cheese, which is fine. So he did that to stop it. But what he didn't do is put Baze on his Saw team. So Troopers cheesed the shit out of it, and that was one of my favorite attacks. We'll talk about that. It was awesome, and it was spine-tingling to the end, and it was one of the fights of old because he set, and I was not prepared for what I got to see.
Fair. All right. Well, we will definitely talk about how your defense before. I'm assuming you got a favorite defense you're going to want to discuss. But
I got
okay.
like 4, but it goes to the point. Go ahead.
No. I appreciate that. Thanks for that initial topic there, Fatal. Let's dig into the written agenda here. So, set 20 Datacrons, Tales of Woe and Valor. Any early reporting to share? I'm disappointed to tell you guys that I didn't really encounter any set 20s of difficulty. I think I faced one Jabba that had the Gamcron and Afra BT1 000 B2 Dengar. Manhandled it. 64 banners, I want to say. So offensively, that was the and of course the Nest thing. I did encounter Nest. I'm sorry, I did forget about that. It did not make a difference. I used Balin, and I had Balin Kron for this final week, and yeah, it was not stopping me. It was not causing me any problems. Nest was docile, and yeah, no. As for me, I had my Jabba get killed for 62. That was the best I was able to strip off somebody, so I'm assuming everybody just Afrid mine. Initially, not wowed. Now, granted, I'm running the Mob Enforcer level 9. I know that most folks will say that the best all-round choice is going to be Embo, and I would agree, especially if you're a TW player and you've got that Omi and everything. I know...
Funny.
I know that...
That's not what I got at all.
Yeah?
Java was one of my favorite teams this week. I made the one change,
Yeah,
so I got the notes about the Afra. Jabba held the other 2 fights. Now, mind you, I was looking to see if I had it because I kept the notes for what it was, and you know what? I think both of them. They both had Dengar on defense, so it was like the Bosk Dengar setup on 2 out of 3. But both times, all I did was swap Boba because of the notes that what came into your chat and then thinking about the fight because you're doing turn meter gain and that's how my turn meter cron is built. I'm like, I think Embo's going to do well, and my Embo is, we'll call it TW built, so it's faster and he's got more things. But mine held round 2. It was Jabba and Embo still standing. Round 3, it was a lone Jabba. So in my opinion, I call that a success. That they had Afro or whatever else, it's still trumped it, and I still got holds. So it's still one of my favorite setups for the week.
Dig it.
I'll give you all a snippet of the next in between episode we're gonna do. I think Mob Enforcer is easily the 3rd best choice for Jabba.
Go ahead. Speak on
No,
it. Let's preach, brother. Assume
So-
the pulpit.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so I think Embo is going to be the best all-around option, especially for TW. Like, in TW, I don't think it's going to be close.
Not even
Right,
close.
Yeah.
Not even close, dude.
but
That's
in
not
GAC-
that's night and day.
But in GAC, I think the Cad Bane one is super interesting because he stacks Mastery on Thermals, and he double taps on Basic, and he assists everyone when they take their turn. So, I know Tass likes the Mob Enforcer one, but she only assists the leader. And then she inflicts only people with thermals with buff immunity, which I don't find to be like a problem that the team has, the buff immunity problem. And then whenever she attacks out of turn, she always crits. But to Tass's point, Cad Bane doesn't do a lot of damage. Well, if Cad doesn't do a lot of damage, Mob Enforcer is doing less. And then whenever she's crit, they get a thermal, and it's like, I guess that's cool.
The reason for the tie-in, and Tass got it off of my recommendation because I was looking over the things like that, and it was the tie-in that basically you're never without thermals. She's gonna go, she'll assist, she'll go. Applying a thermal, and each thermal is doing the disruption that you're wanting to do.
Only applies thermals when she's crit.
No, when she crits. If you go read the thing.
Yeah.
But no, that's what I'm saying. But if you build her fast enough,
the point I'm trying to make is that I don't see this level 9 being better or having more damage output than the Cad Bane level 9. And the additional utility that is offered isn't all that meaningful to the actual fight.
I'll wait to see the
I'm not prepared at this time to tell you that you're dead ass
we
wrong.
can't, right?
That's
That's
why
why I said it's a sneak peek. That's why I said it's a sneak peek into the next one, because I think the Cad Bane one is going to be. I'm not saying it's going to be great. I'm just saying I think it's sneaky good because every time we have a bonus turn assist, it's been meta.
There's definitely more to debate out here, but let's go.
And he killed 2 GLs.
Well, there's definitely more to discuss on this one, but let's safely put a pin in it, and we'll save it for next week with our No, that's what I'm saying. We'll put a pin in it now, and we'll save that as a topic for next week with our special guest.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fun to go over it. But the other set 20 that I had, I think you ended up getting a successful hold against one of your opponents, but the nest setup was fun to do, and I actually gave you a video. So if you said talk about a video, I gave a video of what I would probably be. They were trying to do the old school setup, but didn't have the evasion level 6, so not optimal. But you can still watch the Balin. My Balin, I talked about a test where it's like my Balin. You see his stuff, his stats going down and down because she was taking 1,000,000 turns. I don't think it's going to stop anything for Balin necessarily, but it was interesting to see what it would do.
This is the video you DM'd me here. You want me to put this up?
Yeah, if you want to. Like I said, in my opinion, without the evasion, it's not as optimal. But it was fun to see. I was trying to go through the fights, and this is the only time I got to face the actual Nestcron.
Also, fun fact: I had Nest, HK, and Hunter going into this week as my level 9s from this new set, and used fucking none of them.
I will point out that Balin applies minus 50% evasion per stack of Inspired that gets created on the enemy team, so evasion isn't in conversation with Balin, but that's actually why I posted it.
That works perfect then. But yeah, that was the only thing I saw. Was like I noticed it. It was this is with the level 9. So Balin's level 9, and you just watch go, and then she just starts going and going, and then my poor he's taking hits, and his stuff is just going down fast. It ultimately didn't matter. Like you're gonna watch the team just fade away, and that was one of the things. But it was interesting to see the mechanic go in.
Yeah, I mean this entire fight just kind of falls into the meets expectations category for me.
I agree. Yeah, I'm not surprised by what I'm seeing here.
I posted set 20 specifically because I wanted Balin to be the appealing looking option.
Yeah. Shin just kicking Nest out of existence also meets
That's what I mean, right? It's like eventually she takes over and the fight's done, right? And it goes away. But this was the concept that I put together as well, right? Ezra felt like the optimal other character. L3 always being cleansed or cleansing herself or doing all that feels like a great mechanic to have in there because then the evasion applies for doing it. Yes, again, to Fato's point, that's true, but it's like that was my thought. This felt like the optimal team that the guy put on defense. So yes, watching him just fade away because Shin said, I don't like your attitude anymore was cool. But it was still cool to see what it was doing to Balin and just chopping him down.
And now that
I still think you'd rather have GK.
Well, I was going to say, okay.
She's a smuggler, though. But the difference is she's a smuggler.
Yeah, but so what? So what? Mechanically, she's doing nothing for you to help this fight. So what? Like, I thought the same thing, because we both ran this with L3 in round 1 of this week. Rounds 2 and 3, I ran Cal, and I took a couple banners on the second round, so I had no tank. And then the third round, it got 65. So I don't have anything to look up on that to tell you exactly what they did. But I don't know that if you think they're going to bail in it, I don't know that having a tank in there, like an L3 or anything.
Sorry, I would just assume honestly, we'll see where it's at, because obviously I had the Balin Kron, so he got the defense and he was sitting pretty, but agreed. Again, this was just, we're talking about the initial setups, and that was my initial thought, right, of tying everything together to.
Balin is the new Star Killer. If you're trying to stop
For
Balin,
sure,
don't even bother.
For sure, that is the case, because even the one thing I had to try, because the dude set up a crazy thing, I couldn't use my Hondo on the team. So I still took the Balin Kron because I wasn't playing with it, but I was able to take DBB and take what's his name? Candy Cane, and watch the team work. And I got a 65 still against
you can
one
do
of
it
the
like
super race.
Yeah, you can do it with like Kira L3. You know what I mean? Like you can. But the point I'm
Oh, I
trying to
like
make
that.
about
Fatal,
Balin
that's
is like,
good.
yeah, I saw that team. Yeah.
But that's what I said. It was just taking initial thought, and that's what it was. Because we were talking with Tess. I'm like, well, she's a smuggler, so she gets the effect. But I agree with you, Dagger. He is definitely, and I don't think Kron's going to matter necessarily. I feel like Balin is there to stay. Of like, well, I can just go put, and I know we'll talk about the defense later because the super team was my favorite defense of the week. But the fact that you can do that, it's like any form of Ray, which is the defense staple, and Balin's going to bail you out, feels that's what it is. Put whatever you want there. Put any shenanigan you want there. And Balin is there to put it together. But it was a fun thought that I got to spread resources and put the 20 on because I had it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much in the dead opposite direction. I think Balin has more important callings, but my instinct on Ray is to strip it down to budget and then make it look very Balinable, and then make you pay for it later. And like, I think the moment that you take shit like Ezra out of Ahsoka, you're fucking up as well. That like, yeah, I don't know. It was a very popular trend that I saw pretty much everywhere, but I was just like,
Well, see, I think that changes. I think the discussion changes. It's just because we had ATF level 9 that you could do that. I don't think that stays that way. And I think once that ATF holdup goes away, Ezra's absolutely staying at home with Ahsoka. And anything less than that is you're kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I do agree that Balin has higher callings. I was more pointing out that I talked to people in a little bit smaller communities. When I say smaller communities, I mean like smaller GP communities, and them just being like, "Oh, whenever I see a Ray, I just Balin." It's like, yeah. For us, it's a lot more of a strategy. But yeah. I really like where Balin's at as far as like I don't think there's a Ray that holds up to it, and I think that's the part that I think the masses enjoy. Although this podcast is less for those people and more for the people who want to try to trip you up. To which point I do agree, Fatal. Like it'd be really cool to just be like I can put my Ray bottom front because you're gonna bail in it, right?
that's what I
Otherwise,
did.
Ray kind of just Otherwise, Ray just kind of sits up top, and it's like I guess you can try and Star Killer it if you're greedy.
Yeah, I put it bottom front, and I was like, boy, sure would be so sad to me if you tried to Star Killer this comp that looks suspiciously anti-Star Killer oriented.
Yeah.
It definitely does scream "Don't Star Killer me." That's funny that you say that because that is that. Just looking at it with the initial, you might. I guess it'd be better to show it so somebody understands what you're talking about. But Fatal do it is like, yeah, that does scream the "Don't mess with me" what you're trying to do debuffs because you're not going to get it that way.
Do you find that the lack of Ben actually hinders Star Killer? Because I would almost think that would make it slightly easier. I understand a lot of these characters are good against Star Killer, but I want like, do you think that not having Ben changes that or makes it?
I'm going to war with sinners. There are too many people who are sitting with a 2 Umi Star Killer in 2020 fucking
I remember
5.
Fatal calling that out,
okay.
dude.
Yeah.
Right, let's hear it.
No.
Let's hear it. Roll
Wait,
it
we'll
out
put 'em on
again.
notice
You said this
on
before, but roll it out again.
Yep.
Oh,
No.
Omicron, your fucking character. Jesus, like what are we doing here? What the fuck are we doing here?
I felt like he was pointing at the screen. You know, like the you go to boot camp and you got the guy in your face pointing at him. Fatal was just up close and personal, like screaming at him. Go put that shit on. What are you doing?
This
Go to
team
the
I
corner.
posted, my team fucking crumbles to a triple Omicron Star Killer that you can't, like, you're just like, I don't need it most of the time. Yeah, I'm the other time, bitch. Fucking pay up.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have the barrel throw? Go fuck yourself.
Literally, yes.
Right. You will pay your fee.
Yeah. No, because I saw that and I'm like, doesn't locked buff immunity just stop that? And then Fatal said people had 2 Obies. I'm like, oh, I forgot there were shitters in our midst.
It sure does do that. It would be a real shame.
What are you showing
other
us here,
precedents,
Fatal?
though.
I pulled up this. You just linked this.
That is a self-cleansing perma-lock taunt that a Starkiller player, if everything goes to plan, will just be spending 5 minutes on looking at.
Nice.
I'm telling you the other piece that comes into play, minus the shitters, right? I'm not going to go there. It is the unadulterated, I don't want to deal with Ray shenanigans. So you're literally building into the psyche and all the horror stories that people have. So it's not just that Fatal. It's I don't want to deal with Ray.
No, those people are
Even
still
know
shitters.
Ben. I understand, but you have to go with the precedence of all of the horror stories that is built in, right? And into your psyche, it's the one thing that's commonplace. I don't want to deal with that. I don't give a shit that it's here that you have 2 or 3 Omi. I'm not giving you a chance for me to lock up on a Ray. I'm not dealing with you. And that is the other thing where I look at it, it's like,
Free
yeah,
circular
if
food
you're
if you have the barrel throw, because you just put
but
it on
that's what I'm
L3 and then
saying,
you just
right?
move
But
on with
people
your life.
don't want to deal with it at this stage. People don't want to deal with that. So it's like even if you do the barrel throw, it's like I don't want to deal with that. I'm just gonna go put the
Why?
food. So
It's a
it's
free
too
65.
it's just I promise you. I promise you go talk to most like I don't want to deal with the Ray. I don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
deal with the Ray
and that's
Ban.
why I said they're shitters. Like I include those in the shitter category. People who would rather overkill it than actually put in the effort. Yeah. No,
But yeah,
I love that for you, Fatal. You can do that, and your opponents are just like eating shit on it because
yeah.
For want of
It's,
spending 1 Omicron.
that's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I forget that people don't have that. I guess.
I'm curious.
it's just
though.
like most Rays for the longest time just never really tested you on it, so it's just like, man, I'm skipping it. And like, look, I'm not a collector. I don't upgrade shit. I'm literally out here talking about like I'm not going to upgrade my record until I make damn sure. Like I know what the fuck it is,
How's your
but
trench?
I'm telling, Relic 7 and I like some Omicron number less than 3.
Okay, no, because I remember that was one of the ones you
Oh,
didn't have for a while.
I had him 7-star. I just didn't upgrade him until it was actually like the TW officers were like, okay, we will fucking kill you if you don't actually like.
Yeah.
They literally set the death threats.
No, man, I upgrade shit that I'm gonna use, and I'm not using that fucker. Still to this day. I hope to see it. I literally have the Separatist Bowl where I do Grievous against Trench, and like anytime I see a Trench, you could probably just beat me because I'm just gonna use Grievous against that. But spoiler. Grievous usually wins that shit because it's a fucking joke team, and they're both joke teams, but only one of them is a conquest unit. Anyway.
No, Trench has been severely disappointing because even at his peak, he was pretty good. At his peak when he first came out, he was pretty good, but man, he fell off a cliff within 3 months.
Like even his Datacrons, which you would think would be like, moment is like, it's okay, I guess. Like it created like a little bit more RNG for Bannerblade in TW, I guess.
I mean,
like
it beat a couple GLs. The
Yeah,
first
but
time,
like-
at least.
They were dying anyway. I don't know.
That's true. That's true. I'm not arguing that. Yeah.
I'm not arguing that Trench in TW is all that bad. He's not.
I'm gonna
But
put it back on topic.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put it
outside of
back on topic.
TW,
Sasha
he's
gave
slightly
you
better
notes.
than Dad Bod Boba, but man, that's not a bar you want to try to
I'm just
jump
gonna call
over.
out. Sasha gave you notes
It's
for
true.
the set 20. That
It's
you
true.
Could, so I
We do-
figured I would call that out because
No,
it
I
does actually
appreciate
give relevance
that.
to your topic.
Good reminder.
Not being
Yes.
helpful, TJ.
Yes, Sasha that couldn't be with us here, was kind enough to type up some notes, and he did share that first, regarding Sana. I faced and set a wide variety of Sana comps. Sana under Ray, with Sortie to generate a little turn meter for her, and thus offense, that was underwhelming. Sana under Balin, which was a bit terrifying due to Marok unique turn meter gain for Sana. I didn't try Gungans, but wonder if they still can work despite added bulk from Sana. Tried Sana under Bam with Han and Chewie to generate mass offense for birds right away. Not sure what it drew from my opponent, but they got a 62 on it. Against Aesop, I got a hold with Dash, Sana, L3, Vandor, Young Han, but that may have been about who he had left to use for attack than the quality of the defensive squad itself. So, fair enough. And then he also adds that second, using the HK-47 Datacron with the Sortie, GG, T3, and BB-8 squad was pretty good and got me at least one hold that I can recall. So, I've had a couple folks on Discord and in YouTube comments ask what I thought about HK with the Sortie team. And I'll admit, I've been dismissive because when I think about what that level 9 does, my heart immediately is called to bring him into the Afra team. So, I don't know. I mean, we've had that offensive Sortie team with Lobot a couple metas ago that you could use to just crush the likes of Queen Amidala. If you can use this HK Cron to cobble together a decent defensive team out of Sortie, I'm okay with that. Because we were just talking about how I was guesting on a podcast a few weeks ago, and one of my favorite questions that came up from a viewer on that stream was, what do I want to see in Grand Arena, and the
Also,
answer,
cuteness cameo. For those who missed it, cuteness cameo.
yes, that was Daddy's Precious Sweetness walking on by. But stuff like having things like the Tarful Wookiees and these lesser disused teams be occasionally, for a few months at a time, part of the meta again. Like I miss more of that because it's just been stacking power on top of power. So I like the idea of that kind of promotion opportunity, particularly for defense. It's easier to come up with some contrived cheese for offense using some of these really cool level 9s. But I think defensively, that's very interesting.
And to your point, I always appreciate when there are clever and or different defenses that you see, because for so long defenses are homogenized almost regardless of Datacron set, because the floor for what you put on defense is so high these days. Like, for example, Zori's not really on defense anymore at the higher ends, and it's like, okay, well, what's better than Zori? You get what I'm saying? Like, we talked before about what's the last team off defense, and I know Tass and TJ and I have talked a lot when we're during the planning stages about, well, what's our floor, what's our worst team, and I really like the idea of being able to use like getting value out of something like Sortie is really cool, because we just don't get value out of Sortie all that often anymore. And as somebody who finds the doldrums of GAC kind of boring at times because all you do is fight the same teams over and over again, I like these types of Datacron sets like Tass alluded to, where you actually get like changes. You actually get clever counters. Like it's annoying when you get the Sortie nuke Queen Amidala, but it's also really cool to have something different. And I'm always open and looking for defensive viability. I was hoping that HK would be viable on defense with F.
So there you
Maybe
have it.
not.
It may well be.
But yeah, like I'm always looking for defensive viability among Datacrons. C, bonus turns are really good. Bonus turns and assisting everybody, generally very good things to look for. Dengar was part of the
You
reason
said that was
why.
cool. Steve Dengar was a cool team, so Dagger's point, that was pretty fun. I tried something that failed, but it's like I was still gonna win. But getting to see Dengar work, where it was like, I'm gonna take this, and I still think it was like, or it like ate up my whole team, and I think I took like a JMK or something like that. But because he was stealth, it came down to it. And I'm sure I wasn't playing it well either, but it was cool to see. So I agree. Seeing the off stuff that you're not gonna normally
Yeah.
see anywhere else is fun because it's like, what is that going to do? And you got to think of the mechanic within the mechanic.
And I ate absolute shit on a Bosk lead with Zam and Dengar.
With what? Sorry?
It was Bosk, Grief, Mando, Dengar, and Zam on defense.
And what did you use to destroy it?
No, nothing. I ate shit. Because I took in something that I thought would be cheap. And then they were just like, haha, you can't kill my boss, eat shit.
I know TJ has got his head back cackling right now because he was trying to sell me
it, right? But I went and looked, and it's like DTMG just makes short work of it, right? And I just happened to have the setup, and my guy said it twice this week, so I had to account for it. And then I was like, well, I know I can't take cheap things, so like Dagger's saying, it's like you try to hit the line of what as cheap as possible to leave other counters.
Yeah, and then I CLS the ever-loving shit out of it the next time I saw it.
Right, because it's like, you know what, fuck you, boss, fuck you. But it's like, it's the same thing. I took DTMG and it was super clean, but I didn't disrespect the team because I knew if you try to do that and you just take under the line, they will make you pay for it. And so I said it because I hadn't said it all season or whatever. Like, I don't have a need for it. Then regretted it because it was my round 3 is the only time I've ever done it. And I was like, I missed my Dengar. I really need Dengar for Afro right now. And they didn't have it. But it was still cool.
I tried Finzori and just absolutely ate shit.
Like I said, DTMG made short work, which is cool to see.
Oh, yeah.
Other than that, I overkilled it because I had the right team and the guy did literally not change one thing on defense. So,
that's fair.
But DTMG was nice to see that it worked out very well. It's like, yes, you may gain your turn meter. I will now take that, and you will be shit upon.
Completely unrelated to what we were just talking about to a degree. one team I found myself not using was Treya. I'm not saying the team's bad. I'm just saying, like, it feels like everything she beats, something else does for cheaper.
Well, not necessarily. Well, it depends on what you mean by cheaper. Like, she's that's the premium banner solution to whatever you would use something else to beat. Like, whereas you can 63, 64, maybe 62, something less, using something less than Treya. Treya is like 64, 65 almost invariably. But I agree with you. For the majority of this season, she was on defense for me. And I didn't regret that. I mean, I think I even got the odd hold because the fact is, a lot of times, other players and myself were finding themselves holding their Sith Eternal. And if I've got that Savage Lead Treya with the high crit damage on the Kron and that very high, crit damage and offense setup on Talon, like your C set counter to Savage Treya very much struggles against that, and I definitely had at least one hold, not this week, but this season with that. So I agree. I didn't. The only times where I kept Treya for offense is when I thought that there was more to be gained by setting that other counter on defense instead, and just holding Treya to be extra clean.
Yeah, I didn't set her on defense because I feel like my defense was already good. And that's the other thing, too, is trying to balance your defense and offense, like allocation of resources.
Okay.
So, I know we've kind of glossed over a lot of the... I know we've been long-winded about a lot of this stuff. But yeah, I don't really have a favorite attack or defense for the week.
Well, you are way off the reservation. We're still back in meta-analysis.
I don't care. I'm checking out of this entire episode.
I'm calling an emergency alert.
Yeah, you're just lost. Like, you're lost to time. All right.
I'm telling you that I'm going to be leaving in like 6 minutes. So I'm giving you.
Oh, this is the clack song going. Okay.
Yeah. I have been told that I have about 5 minutes to wrap this up.
Oh,
okay.
I see.
Here.
I see.
Listen.
All right. Well, why don't you give us your brief?
Sorry, go ahead, Fatal. Sorry.
Sorry. Go
Data's
ahead.
Out.
You got some.
Data's out.
Data's out.
Oh, is it already done? Okay, good. So this is important.
All right. Well, I will just have an angry woman in my life for like an extra 10 minutes as I go.
Oh no, it's only partially out. I got like the round 1 that I can see.
I got all 3 rounds.
Well, I like you less. How's that grab you? Oh, look at you guys. Yep, all of you have it. I don't have it. This is
No, I've only got the one.
No, you only got the
I don't have the one I want. I'm not as cool either.
Yeah. Fatal's got. Yep, Sasha's got it. Yep, Sasha's got it. Okay.
I don't see mine.
Do you have all 3 of mine? Yeah, do you? No,
no, I see 2 I see just the 1 for you.
Yeah, you and I are stuck. Damn it.
Yep.
I want that round 3.
Isn't that just special? All right. Well, I can at least look at this real
Oh
quick.
yeah. Oh, I had my Queen Amidala fail because I'm a dipshit. I remember that one. I had my Queen Amidala versus Leia fail because I'm a dipshit in round 3.
Yeah.
So it turns out I could have killed Fulcrum, and I didn't kill Fulcrum.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah.
Yeah, I had her in the yellow, and I had Pow's middle up, and I just targeted Drogon out of habit instead of just nuking the problem. And then she responded by killing my Pow, and I'm like, all right, good talk.
How does this fail?
Yeah.
Look,
dude,
look at this. Look at this.
Dude, so okay. Taz, are you looking at my please go to mine, dude, and tell me how you fail C Bane on Jabba. How?
That feels cursed. That feels cursed.
How? But I don't get it. Like 62% health. How is all right? Well, I'm gonna take it as Jabba's new epitome team. It beats C Bane. There's no way. There's just I don't.
Wow.
Who is your opponent?
Dark Schneider. It's not like saying that. I just like shocked. He's been in the top and around and stuff like that, but I'm still shocked. Don't consider like I'm just being facetious, man. But I was like, how, dude? I don't understand how in the world that happens that way.
But yeah, I definitely ate some shit this week because I wasn't paying attention, which is a habit I've gotten into. Because what I do is whenever I have like a free 20 minutes, I'll do some GAC. So I tend to just jam through it.
Fair. Well, yeah, but hey, I don't want you to run too foul of the misses.
Yeah.
So before you got a jet, what else you got for the people in anything? Your favorite attack and defense, your final comments, all that. Lessons learned, what you're looking forward to, next fives, all of it.
The lesson learned from this week specifically is that I need. You know how like there are those kids who don't try in high school, then they get to college and have to learn how to study. That was this last week for me, right? I was reminded very quickly every round that I didn't even look at my opponent's rosters, right? And it's like not looking is like at least look. Have an idea of what they're going to do. Maybe check their .gg, pull Omega, do something. Because I got caught out by an opponent because I'm like, this guy surely didn't do X or Y. And then he sure as shit did X or Y. And I got bailed out because he just ate shit on my defense because, that's what people do in Kyber 2 frequently. So I learned that I have to do my homework, at least some homework. Maybe not a lot, but, take some notes. And, man, I'll make Tass smile here, but it's like we're going into the GAC where we're going to have a variety, and I look forward to the variety. I don't look forward to 3v3, but I look forward to the variety. And I also am looking forward to next 5v5 with this full Bad Batch team and seeing what it can do. Because I think it's going to have I don't know what Crosshair is going to add, because we just went over the Hunter kit. So I don't know what Crosshair is going to add, but I am interested in what it can accomplish because I already have the first three, so I feel relatively committed to getting the other two. So we'll see if Crosshair makes me want to get Wrecker, and I'll just kind of leave it at that. As far as final thoughts, man, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and by all means, follow Fatal 2.
Fair. All right, buddy. All right, he had to dip, so that's it for Dagger. Let's get back on the agenda. Guys, so thanks. We exhausted everything that I really wanted to know about Set 20. Slacker and Dark Ray. I can say that JMK seemed for me very safe this week, although I did want to mention Slacker chose to poke. Now that with Dark Ray and the team, they have the discretion to ignore taunt on attack. So, I thought it was interesting that Slacker chose to poke 3 different targets this week. He poked Snips in round 1, which is what I expected. And I thought that was going to be consistent. Then round 2, I was quite surprised and slowed down for a little bit when he stabbed Cat. And I still won it. I want to say maybe for a banner less, something like that. But getting slowed down that much was worrisome for a bit. And then last against Padme, believe it or not. In all 3 cases, I was able to win the fight, but I thought that was worth sharing. So, what about you guys? Anything interesting this week about fighting Slacker, Dark Ray? Anything new as opposed to what we had learned from last week?
Unfortunately,
Fatal is a sad boy. Go ahead, Fatal.
No, I just didn't really. I only got to fight one. I fought 2 holders.
Yeah.
I did get to try JML, but it was up against a Dark Side Bulk plus 100% health card. And I chose to run a Light Side Bulk 0% protection set 19 cron for the extra defensive durability. And after extensive research, I can confirm that having 0% extra protection on your lessons against 400% health, not actually all that constructive.
Yeah, that is something that a lot of people don't know. When we have a light side bulk cron like that, the extra protection or whatever that you're gaining does not get figured into the JML, leadership ability, so-called coin damage. It doesn't boost that.
Such bullshit.
I knew it was just a tactical choice of I choose 75% health over lessons damage.
Oh yeah, no, I know you knew. I'm saying that's actually an FAQ. So yeah.
But yeah, So that went pretty fucking horribly.
Fair.
And then I just slammed like Darth Bane with my R7 Sith Assassin, and didn't win, but like I don't remember the exact relic scaling for the side Sith, but like all my R9s were used anyway, so she was the least debuffy, and I got out like Hux Red and Dark Ray. I want to say that it was just like, okay, I'm in a position to clean this up at this point. It was a slugfest match with Segamaru, so
Nice. Good player.
yeah, Segamaru is the person that I associate most with crazy teams, and I think it's to my own credit that my defense actually looked a little bit Segamaru-y. The thing I will never be able to match this guy on is the thing that always sets Segamaru apart is that he crosses lines that I don't think anyone else is willing to cross.
Absolutely.
It's not always to his favor or his credit, but you have to
Also,
give
absolutely.
him
That goes back to Vanguard days, dude. That's going back to when I first came into Vanguard and I saw his stuff. His stuff is the wildest concept of what is this going to do? Nobody knows. And there'd be one
this man
that you
is
could
out
take.
here.
Yes.
He's posting teams that I would say is like a half-assed funny joke on Discord of like, haha, man, if you put Seth the Fire Trooper as like a leader for
Yes.
Talon for your Sith squad, then you have a pre-Talon and they'll hit him and they'll gain Terminator. And then he fucking posted against me like a few months later. I was like, oh, I didn't think we would actually see this.
Yes. Sugawara is one of the crazy. I've never seen a dude who will post more awkward shit. And it's on a consistent basis. If you know you're facing him, you're facing some sort of shenanigans of like, I don't even know what to make of this team. What do you do with this team?
Fair. So nothing from you then, TJ. Nothing.
I'm gonna go to your point. So I specifically wrote it out, and I wish it'd be round 3. I faced the Balenkron on his SLKR.
Yeah.
And I limped across with JMK in a 58.
Okay.
And
yeah, I had
got
at least one that was like that. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's like the Balenkron did what the Balenkron does. 100% offense, good bulky stats all around. Just a great Kron, right? It's a good above average Kron and had offense, and I felt the burden. My team got pummeled. I got all of the bad shocks. So 2 characters dead, limped across with 3. I'll still call it a win since the other team I faced with 300% offense was a much scarier one. But it was to what you talked about. He said it top front right next to his Balin. So I said I would love to have like the images and to show it. So I knew I had to take JMK there because he put a Leia ATF squad bottom. So I'm like, I had to take Bane. So I had to 7-shot the Bane or the Leia. I was not messing with the SLK team because if it went badly, I was screwed. So he did what we talked about and what you talked about. He went the red side of things, and I felt the burden. And that's where it was a 58, where people were getting killed. There was disruption happening all over the place. It was havoc and chaos and cats and dogs. And barely came out of that alive. Barely. And that was with the ATF, my Catcron with the bonus turn and everything like that. Yeah. So I felt all of the things, and you would be justified in your response of the debate of who is better, double tank or single tank. And in this situation up front, the single tank was definitely the way to go, and I felt the hit from it.
Yeah, just I'll be real brief about it. I know I talked about it at length on my stream the other day, but for anyone who missed that, and I'll be interested in your take on this too, Fatal. But I'm thinking that double tank seemed to be an impediment mostly to Bane. It didn't feel like it made any kind of difference at all versus JMK. Like you're a little delayed for hitting your priority target, but once you pop ultimate, you can go after who you need to go after. And there were a couple of those fights where I took the short ultimate more than once just to be able to get at that priority target. That was irrespective of whether or not it was double tank. But I think that single tank is definitely more dangerous to JMK. Like that was my 58-ish, 59, whatever, banner clear.
Yeah.
Just because it just contributed to more ultimate charge on Slacker. And I want to say once Slacker entered his ultimate the first time, he back-to-backed that like 2 more times. I had to wait a minute to be able to get at him. I had plenty of time to finish up all the sides cleanly, but red contributed enough. And I also think that red would just do more damage-wise to threaten Bane. So, I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's where I said mine's tough to say because the only thing holding for me was my SLKR with double tank in the back. But the reason I go to concede to what you're saying is if you're up front, I think you're right. I like the trick for me in the back, I don't know, and that's why I was hoping to see round 3 because literally it was 3 backouts. He tried 3 times and then he knew he wasn't clearing my team. I didn't have Balancron on there because mine was just a healthy build or whatever, it's protection and health. I had the damage immunity, but I went double tank. I'm like, I haven't said it if he did look at me because I think he will. It may change up the fight for him, but that's you're dealing with SLKR as your last team to deal with. And I watched his, or not watched, but like the things where he was going, he went bottom, he went top, then he went back. SLKR was the last team he was messing with. So it's like, or he failed and then went back and then ended up having the SLKR, but it held completely. So nobody died, nobody dead, nobody nothing. But I don't know what he used to say, aha, I was right versus, but I still feel like you are correct that that amount of damage up front is tricky, especially if you're not prepared for the back-to-back ults. If you're not prepared for the additional damage coming into play, especially with these current Datacron sets that we have, where the slap is just uncanny for what it's going to carry on.
Fair. Fatal, comments on this one. What do you think? Double tank, red trooper, what are you thinking?
I mean, it's not really something that I was particularly concerned about before this point, so I haven't I'll have to like emotionally process this, but my knee jerk is almost that like I think I would almost rather allow Bane and block JMK if that's like the conversation that's happening here, because I don't know. Like, it feels like there's sort of a tension line happening between the squad and Ahsoka to some degree, and I'm not a JMK holder. How does JMK do against Ahsoka?
Against Ahsoka? Gosh.
Yeah, you don't do that.
I don't think
No,
anybody.
no,
I mean,
no.
if we're talking if there's no Exile Ezra, I imagine that's a very different experience. But if there is an
What?
Exile Ezra, I don't know.
You don't JMK and Ahsoka. You
Yeah.
can Leia and Ahsoka, but you do not JMK and
Yes,
Ahsoka.
that I'm aware of. Yeah, you can definitely Leia that team.
Like Bane sounds
That's your point.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Bane does sound cheaper. Yeah, but I'm saying that at least to me, Red Trooper sounds like it's the greater threat profile to both JMK and to Bane. So does anything about that strike you differently?
Not particularly. I don't know.
Right, yeah.
The majority of my thought about it is like you mentioned your RNG with the first SLK poke, but like the outcome of the JNK matchup, I would imagine comes like the second poke is just as important as the first. So I don't know.
It was also random that second poke because I want to say one that round that they stung Cat, the next one was stunning Ahsoka. So I mean, it well and truly can jam you. And
Didn't one stab Padme? Like
that was
Padme
the third round. That was the third round.
That was like the weirdest. I've seen it where it's consistent on who they usually go after. It's usually a Cat or it's usually an Ahsoka. Yours like stunned a Padme, and I was flabbergasted. Like I don't think I've seen them target that character of all the characters.
If I'm guessing out loud, I would imagine that Sith Trooper being a Sith actually kind of matters here, as well as 2 tank. Like, I still kind of hold the viewpoint that I think Snips being poked is kind of the nightmare for the matchup for JMK side. If it only happens once, you probably still win. If it happens twice, I think that's maybe where the comp starts to matter more. That like the fact that 2 tank doesn't have as many Sith that can just be kind of half skipped. Or like, let's say Cat doesn't get poked, so Cat has nuke after the BSF shadow drops and everyone's killable. You still have a second tank to potentially hide behind, and actually even who gets nuked is kind of a decently impactful decision there, right? That I didn't post 2-tank, but maybe 2-tank is like something I could have been considering.
Well, I'm thinking I'm winding up to saying that. Not really. I don't think so.
I guess the context that I'm completely blanking on for myself is I was posting Seer with crew, so I was kind of hand tied into single tank.
Right.
Which
I
I'm
also
saying
wanna
that,
say-
like TJ can attest to this. So we were sweating this out in the planning phase. We were thinking about, it just means that you're, down your premier tank if you're placing Seer on defense or something. And knowing now that, looking at my history, now that I can see the defense, I just checked. When I did set double tank, dub 65 for JMK, right? The only time I'm stripping banners is with red there. And yeah, I know.
I mean, that's not nothing. So when you all played it, are you nuking the tank? Are you saving for ult? And then
Saving it for Ray. Saving it for Dark Ray.
You have to save it for Ray. You have to save it for Ray. Ray
I don't know
has
that you
to go
have to,
away.
but that's what I did every time. It felt like that was the right move because it takes you long
Ray has
enough.
to go away.
It takes long enough for her to become accessible to you, right? And then when the appointed hour comes, like, I'm not trying to spend multiple rounds sweating it out with her.
No, because she'll triple attack, she'll hit more crits and do all sorts of bad things you just don't want happening. And the most people I was doing this had the same thing, super fast. So she's gonna get more turns off. So she had to go away. The things that she was doing was feeding SOK. It wasn't anything, nothing screamed to me like she's gonna be the one to delete your team. But what she was doing was feeding so much to him so quick that had to go away to stop the shenanigans for what she was doing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate that. Next item, in a similar vein here, Lord Vader Ufus. Again, this was a team that really reared its ugly head earlier in the season, but nevertheless, it was a factor to deal with here in Week 3. And for me, this is gonna spoil my favorite attack and defense of the week, but I'll say that this is one of my favorite attacks because I wiped out so hard, and I want to show you guys. Lord Vader Ufus, I have been seeing others just 65 this. All right, just dub it with Bane. All right, now I want you to put your feet up, gentlemen. Take a sip of a nice cool drink and watch. Just watch as as this happens. Okay.
Is it a long fight, Tess? Is it a long battle?
I'm so glad you asked. I think I'm going to be moderately respectful of your time with this one.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Where's your oh shit?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's
me in real life is like, okay, it's okay. I'm sure this part's gonna work, right? Somebody's gonna die. And there you could, all right, horror seeps into my bones.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, absolutely no one died. Now, I checked a couple people that did this successfully against me. There's only one big difference that I can see. The big difference was I skewed for really high crit damage on this Kron. I was thinking that being able to hit as hard as possible would make a difference. But my opponents that were successful used higher health than crit damage. They biased health instead. So they were relying more on that max health damage from the third than by doing critical strikes via any other means. Granted, there is crit immunity on the board for a little bit, and I guess that would give disproportionate value to max health damage straight up regardless. But that was a good lesson learned fighting that. How about you guys though? What do you have to say about fighting Lord Vader Ufus?
My data is out finally, Tass. So we can see what was used, and it was C Bane on my SLKR.
Which round are we
that
going?
That failed. Round 3, the one I've been waiting on to see because this was the slugfest. Favorite round by chance.
JMK, nice. I mean, JMK's been dropping on this all season.
No, I'm saying for SLKR. I'm saying for the SLKR double tank. Or question of what's going to work, go all the way down to the bottom.
I gotcha.
And you'll see my fight. Okay, got him.
Yeah, wow, C Bane. Well, I mean, I'm not really that surprised, right? I'm not that surprised.
It's just cool to see. Again, it was just the point of what was used and was it Bane related. Now, does that say go Bane lead and we go there and that's going to change the fight? Now, also, mind you, million GP difference, relic levels, all the good things like that. But that was cool to see. LV Ufus, absolutely. Watching you faced it became the new thanks to Zid and doing it to you last season and then this to me became the new top meta team to hold everything. It was what are you willing to use to kill this team? And that's part of why, like my final week, that was my favorite defense setup. So when you say favorite defense, that was an absolute bottom front. I don't care if you know it's there. What are you willing to spend to beat it? And then was like, if anybody looks to my history and sees this, like, what am I willing to spend? That was absolutely part of every discussion. But regardless, it stayed down and was hands down the favorite defense because you never got to do cheap shenanigans. I don't care what it was. It cost you literally the Thanos snap. It was everything to get this team if you wanted it dead.
Yes. Very fair. All right. Fatal, did you encounter any Lord Vader Ufus here this week?
I didn't even know that people were posting it. I posted Drea LV with Seer running separate. And like I feel like I don't know. If I'm weighing LV Ufu plus Treya versus Treya LV plus Seer, I feel like the average weight of those two teams skews a bit more positively towards the Seer plus Treya LV side. I don't know. Like, I mean, like for example,
it's
like,
a good holder.
Yeah,
I'm not I faced the combo. That's why I'm saying your thing, Fatal. It's like I faced it and then had to come to grips. But that would say yours is better than what I faced.
I would say trying to put some defense in the Treya non-GL side of things is I do think there has been some interesting stuff that I've been trying with Treya where I actually flex in BSF using the kind of pre-foresight. I was using it with Treya lead, and now I'm kind of experimenting with it with Savage lead just to kind of deny the initial doubt out of Afro and see if that can create some initial tension for, you know, if people aren't thinking through the implications of the initial fight flow. That could be deeply unpleasant. To that end, though, like the last battle of the last match of the Segamaru Slugfest of the last battle of the season, I had 2 minutes to play a BKM versus Treya LV, and I know that the maybe it didn't even show up. I guess it did not. I hit submit.
There it is.
Oh no, it is there. Yeah,
Just
so
right
I timed
there
out. Yeah, duration 1 minute 18 seconds. I took a different line, and obviously, like 1 minute into the fight, if I'm the Treya LV poster, I would like to see more stuff alive and doing things 1 minute in than that.
Sure.
Where I avoided making debuffs. I've got the Omicron with Bo-Katan Mandalore, where she immediately calls Bam to follow up after she does her mass. And so, yeah, I avoided making debuffs to deny Nihilus health. Went straight for the third on him. Nihilus out pretty much my turn, technically 3, but my turn 2. And, you know, I think the thing that I can't say with any certainty is I know that a big thing for this team is kind of the damage buffs being fed to LV as kind of the closer. I can't say for sure, yeah, I'm totally walking out of this fight in one piece. I can't say that. Maybe that would have been up in the air for, you know, not having any time remaining. But at the very least, the initial tension was pretty fucking gone. And we know that BKM broadly usually does well into LV. If I'm, again, trying to be fair for both sides, I would say look at my IG-12 health and my OG Bow health as like Treya lead was kind of kicking in and taxing IG-12 health for counterattacks and that whole sort of thing. That was kind of a factor that was happening. So ended on a cliffhanger. I can't say for sure. Like I could tell you that my OG Bow was protected by Bam in lock, so like she wasn't technically in danger of dying yet, but she was low. I don't know. It's
my only counter to the point is what it's going to cost you for Treya LV, because you can go to my round, and the one thing you won't, it's safe to say you won't see, is that LV with the strong team, you don't get to Inquisitor that. the Trey LV, depending on what's still being set up, there is room, and there has been, and it was actually historically being able to Inquisitor it, depending on what's being set up. Um, that's my only piece. Yes, to what Fatal does, he puts a lot of tax on the board, right? Um, the super concentration of the LV Ubus, you have maybe one, maybe two, and I would say at where Tash you're saying works for most people are not facing your level of team, of your level of Datacron build, your level of modding stress.
Yeah,
So
my
people can say
opponents,
it will
yeah.
work. It's just not a 1-to-1. Now, saying that, I also need to lead to this. People aren't going to be facing Fatal's Freya LV because his Scion is the stuff of legends, right? Or whatever is in there. Like the modding intensity is going to be there where it's not going to be just killing it average. But the LV UFU was just such a taxing team that you may have one option, you may have two, but that doesn't mean it's going to work for you. And that was my favorite defense by far, just because anybody who faced it, if you beat it, you literally pulled exactly what you're going to need from my SLKR to do its job in the back. And that was the tax man, as you would say, to the tax man cometh, and he
That's
taketh
right.
away, and then that was it. That's just what it was. LP Ufu was by hands down the pinnacle of my defense once I saw what you faced and the history. And everybody I talked to, like, I'm posting that too. And you did. You see it when everywhere you saw it was like, that's a scary fight. You're in for a fight for your life.
Very fair. All right, guys, that wraps up meta-analysis. We actually had a good bit to go in there on that one, so good stuff. All right, next up, best attack and defense of the week. I mean, you already saw the attack fail. As far as like defensive win, I had a couple holds that I was pretty happy with, but didn't I have one other attack I wanted to highlight to you guys? Yeah, this is one other thing. I got put into a tough spot where I needed to use Negotiator against Profundity. And I've never needed to do this before, in Grand Arena at least, and I'm sure I've probably done it in TW, but gosh, it's vanishingly few times. Anyway, I thought it was cool. Because it opens up and it feels immediately terrible, and somehow we're able to get it done. Now, I just looked this up on Insight, saw this composition, and I was like, all right, I have to risk that I can intuit this. And yeah, you'll see how it goes. But we eventually get it done. I want to say it resolves for something like a 62. The banners weren't spectacular, but by contrast, I also had Profundity on defense. So yeah, that part was bum. Yeah, I had to play so carefully thinking about not using that turn meter boost there. Just to make sure I had enough to take out that. Because right there, when Ghost came in, that probably was somebody dying if, what's his name? If Dash was still around. Yeah, and you can kind of see how it goes from here. Once I've lived long enough to take ITB into the fight. Feels pretty good. Yeah, I rationalized there, like, I have Mark on me. I mean, I might as well have crit immunity and all that. I didn't need to do that. Yeah. Man, there it was. What was it? Oh, 66. Better than I thought. Still. I liked that. And I saw that against Profundity, there's a couple other counters that I'm just not practiced in. So that's a goal of mine for next season, is to practice that Tarkin counter to profundity that I'm seeing players like Zid get a 75 with. So that's on the to-do list. But as far as favorite defenses go, yeah, I got to be deliberate with the scouting and see what it was that people liked against Queen Amidala. If you use gas, then I wanted to have Mace and Kelleran in there. Mace himself often, I guess, causes something to go wrong, but Kelleran introduces another mass assist that can quickly sit your gas, and then, leading to other members of the team just blowing out your sides. So that was cool because when it wasn't gas, people were using Treya, at which point I was dropping Kelleran out and putting in Cam, and that was occasionally jamming up the Treyas. It was just an overwhelming amount of damage, and that's what I pulled off in against Arsenal in round 1. So that was good, just learning that little bit of tech for a couple of the go-to counters this season for Queen. TJ, what you got that we haven't already discussed, I guess?
One, I'm going to look at your screen here. I think it's perfect. If you can go back to your screen.
Oh, sure.
This is very telling. Do you see that Afra with Dengar getting held up by Jabba? So I'm going to call out. We're talking about it doesn't work. That right there is awesome. That the go-to, because that worked for my opponent in round 1. Jabba with the new Kron doing some funky shenanigans was probably one of my favorite ones. For my round 3, we saw what it held on round 2, right? But round 3 held against Queen. So he tried Queen and Jabba, and Queen has historically been pretty solid against Jabba. But with the Embo, he got timed out. So I'll take the dub on that. Other than that, defense stays the same. It was a combination of everything in place that really held it out. And that was my favorite defense, was just how everything was structured. Favorite attack was the one I talked about. So it was round 3. It was the no bays on the Saw team, and it was with the troopers. Get into good old-fashioned troopers with the 25% turn meter, just chef kiss. It was like, don't not put bays on that team. Hence, you get the ass whooped for a perfect banner. And that was one of the things I needed, because this dude's setup, what he did, everything, putting Balin, putting Leia, putting all of this good defense on, really stretched what I had to do. So if you go look at my attacks, you'll see many, many reds. Like, all right, I've got to try this. It doesn't work. Like the Leia, his Leia, I had to try Bane because I needed to spread my resources. That got shut out, right? I looked at that. I was like, all right. So I had to take C, kill a couple of people, and then it was, all right. The Treya LV, had to try Inquisitor, saw there was a good success rate, tried that. That did not go well. And so it was me just playing with my food. As I saw my SOKR decided to hold, I was like, oh, I get to be little greedy boy on it. And then to your point, Tass, of what you helped with the PNS was the defense of the ships. You were like, you know what? If they're going to do it, then you should be able to set the big balls. And so if you go look at my defense, I did exactly that. I think he knew it was over, so he was trying counters, is what I think was happening. But it was cool to see everything was red.
Oh, cooked. Just cooked. Yep, yeah. This is what I'm talking about. This is that Tarkin thing. See?
And you see it did not go the way he thought it was going to go.
You know what I think this is? This is the thing I have to be cautious about if I'm doing this myself. It looks great when it works and you get that something like that 75. If you don't have one of your side ties die and you're not able to immediately reinforce when you have the opportunity, you're cooked. That's it. Jig's up. Done.
Well, and I think he's trying the other thing, right? Because Prof with Scimitar, there is a chance for Prof with Scimitar to win against your Leviathan when you do the 2-man setup. But like I said, you brought up the suggestion. I'm like, you know what? If we're going to ships, then you're right. He's going to give me room to play. And so I set the heavy dogs, and it went the way of the world. That
beautiful.
He couldn't keep up. Yeah, so that was a props to Tass. Tass called it out. I followed suit, and then that was. But I also think he knew he was cooked, so he was just going to try stuff to see if the offense would work.
Sorry about that. I just realized my mic was muted there. All right. Well, thank you for that, TJ. Fatal, your favorite attack and defense?
I guess the most consistent winner of, like, I set out to do it and it happened was Probably actually just Great Mothers with the DTP plus Marin setup is like. I mean, I don't know if this is old news for people, but yeah, more or less, it was just like, okay, I'm going. Like we had those continuing conversations of like extend the fight out and buy enough time. DTP has the bulk unique, Marin has the protection regen on her unique, and just no Malgus got through, and then they ended up spending something that I was more than happy to see them not have later.
Agreed.
I mean, the Qui-Gon there, I guess, is less than ideal, but actually that's in conversation with the Amidala later, so...
No, I'm glad you mentioned this. I can't believe I forgot that, because, this entire week, everybody had basically been doing that, Inquisitor's counter to Great Mothers, specifically because it became known that, with Marin in there, that is such a complicator, especially if you're going to commit a set 18 bulk stat on, a bulk level 3 with bulk stats. Almost forbidding. So, I'm glad that worked for you as well.
And then, I guess offense side for me, it was... I guess I would just say Bad Batch against Great Mothers is most of what I was doing for the week. And I had some fun premiere matchups of, like... I think that might have been the one, or it was like an R9 Spirit with, like, the 150% crit damage, where my Wrecker... was super modded, and I mean, set 19 can't really give bulk stats. It could just give light side bulk, so not really.
So, what would you say is the special tech that enables this? I'm assuming instead of like high prot, you're just pure health primaried out on your Wrecker, right? So he can be doomed as long as possible, I guess.
So this isn't really. The way I would put it is this: this is a matchup that should win by default. But the better the Spirit gets, the better your Wrecker needs to get. If you see, like, the people who, like, cut Spirit because they're going Bless Gambling.
Right.
That auto loss to Bad Batch. Like, just, you are fucking up. You are giving me a free win. Yeah, like, I'm facing against some pretty high-quality Spirits with some pretty high-quality Crons. My Wrecker, full investment R9, and obviously, like, if it's a Spirit at match start, he's got the foresight, so your defense is being invalidated as well, that it's literally just a how much health does your Wrecker have? Like, legitimately, for the next season, if this is something that I would plan to pursue, it would actually behoove me to ditch set 19, look for a set 20 high health Cron, because that offers up to, like, what, 25% more health or something, probably, than light side bulk level 3. Is, like, way harder to get, but if I'm just trying to juice my odds, that's the type of dynamic in play there. Because all that matchup is literally just Wrecker health versus Spirit crit damage and offense. And it is two numbers clashing together. And as long as you pass that check, every time Wrecker gets touched, you print 4 more bonus turns, and then you heal Wrecker. And then they take another turn, and you get 4 more bonus turns. And then you heal up Wrecker. And you just keep cycling. It's a very fucking free matchup, and the only thing that can touch you is a good Spirit.
So, and I notice it's kind of interesting that it may not be just the Spirit, right? Because here's a Relic 9 Spirit that you easily handled this team for 64 banners. Granted, it took you just over 4 minutes to do, but I wonder if it doesn't also need to have Night Trooper in there to actually have a chance at complicating you?
No, Night Trooper don't give a shit about. If anything, Marin's probably more annoying.
Well, so this comp though that you fought here, you would say that would be the most probable composition to stand up to your Bad Batch, and then it got 64.
The sole factor is, can your Spirit kill my Wrecker? If the answer is no, then I guess the follow-up question is, can your comp survive me? But like that comp posted with Marin plus DTP is kind of the most survivable comp I'm aware of right now. So
okay, all right.
Yeah, no, it just it's a good matchup, but also like funny enough that we're talking about records today. Like, that this is a showcase of two big meaty men slapping meat of just a very large man with 75% bulk Cron and then 80% bulk on his unique versus a Spirit with a very large offense Cron. I mean, Relic 9 on Spirit doesn't really juice the damage numbers by that much, I'd imagine, but it is it is that fucking thing, right? This is an R9 wrecker who is 100% health 1 second and 10% health the next. And then 100% health again the next second, and then 85 or 15% health the next. It is violent swings back and forth. But as long as you are over the top, that they can't actually finish you off, it doesn't matter what they get to.
Nice. No, that's a good one. That's a great off counter. And you would think that this would probably be the... Would you say that it would be more threatening to this team if it was a set 19, 25% dark side turn meter? Does that offer any threat to you?
Well, the team operates in bonus turns, so the relative speed kind of doesn't really matter, right? The first thing that touches me, I get 4 bonus turns and then reset my turn meter to 0. So their relative speed, in contrast to mine, doesn't actually change anything. So, no, I'd actually say the bulk is actually way more impactful, at least if we're talking in terms of them trying to, like, time me out or something, I guess. No, it's... Yeah, I would say I'm pretty comfortably secure against TM opener.
Okay. All right. Appreciate that.
Let's say he does a great job of walking you through the fight. It's literally watching an instructional video. There's just it's really good. If anybody, like I said, that was one of the things where it's like you could take notes. He literally gives you step 1, step 2, then you'll go step 3. There may be this choice. Like you couldn't ask for a better thing of a recording of like let's timestamp that and give this out. And here's your instructional video of a how to.
Fair. Very fair. Yeah, that was his round 2. So if you didn't catch Fatal's round 2, check that out, and we'll have Fatal plug his channel here in just a moment. But yeah, speaking of which, guys, we've made it to the end of the road. It's time to wrap this thing up. It's takeaways, final thoughts. TJ, why don't you kick us off? What do you got to say to the people? Your lessons learned. Thoughts for the next time we return to 5 versus 5. What you're looking forward to? Anything else you want to share with the people?
So 5v5, I expect to see how crazy the smuggler shenanigans is what I would probably go to say what we're going to see.
The Wrath of Sana.
How is it going to tell you? I expect evasions or things like that. It's going to be what has the accuracy, what can't be evaded type shenanigans or something else where it's going to try to trick it up. I am hopeful. Like I said, this round 3 was by far my favorite of the season, and not because of the win, because it was an actual knockout slugfest. He took a strategy that older times would have caused us to fail, right? Enough of the fails, you run out of resources. We just have so many resources. And even I feel like I stepped okay or not, like somewhat heavy to give myself just enough. So I'm hoping that maintains. That was a lot of fun. So I know Fatal does it. I know it's how far can you stretch yourselves? How much can you tax? I would love to see that continue next season. Which is more offense, more slaps, more like your resources are done in. And long live the LV Ufus. Man, that was an amazing team to close out the season.
Seriously, RIP, set 18, Starkiller Kron. That was a fun Kron. That was a really fun Kron. So, fair enough. All right, Fatal, how about you? Your lessons learned, what you're thinking about for the next 5 vs. 5 season, pearls of wisdom for the folks at home.
I'm kind of head empty on the next 5v5 just because, yeah, I mean, I went into the season expecting a dud, and I would say definitely at least with the release of Dark Ray, I was able to find a pretty entertaining season. Week 2 did end up being a dud, but not for the game's own fault. It was just the way the cards fell on a personal note. But no, I'm glad that this season had some fun to be extracted. It was a cool season. I had a blast doing a bunch of theory crafting and sitting with shit, and I have no idea how much of it will transfer over because, yeah, I agree that I think the loss of Darkside Bulk is going to leave a hole that I don't think Darkside TM will fill. I think Bulk is a pretty good stat. And the loss, I mean, the best I can say, right, is we're in a set 20. It's got health and protection. You can try to replace it in the aggregate. But set 18 had Darkside Bulk plus Bulk stats, so even then it's a relative step down. There's an entirely possible chance that Darkside Bulk was kind of staving off some of the inevitability that we'll see next season. But that's problems for later me. I'm excited for the new Bad Batch, and I mean, I think the Crosshair is probably carrying a decent amount of power budget that, like, my thoughts on the new team could be entirely different come 2 weeks from now. But if everything goes my way and CG gets a bug fix put out, I will be exploring Bad Batch versus SLK as a possible counter next season.
No doubt.
And I think that will be pretty cool, even if it causes me to lose some matches. That sounds like, because I was pursuing that counter back when Bad Batch first released.
So
I was doing Bad Batch against.
I had to have you on mute when I tuned in, I think, to your last stream when you did the Fugitive Omega versus Slacker, and like immediately it just went tits up, and I know what a perplexed expression looks like when I see one, and I'm just wondering, did you figure out what went wrong there and what you gotta have straightened out for next time?
Yeah, I have to hope that CG issues a bug fix.
Okay, so it is really just that bug fix. Okay.
Well, the Bad Batch's whole thing is you have 4 characters in stealth, and Darkseid Ray, and I'm assuming it's because of her taunt ignore, is like, you know what? Stealth's kind of bullshit. We're just gonna ignore that for you and just run over the entire team.
Yeah, it isn't just taunt ignore. It's like the BAM with a full charge of birds taunt ignore. No one may hide, stealth or no.
Yeah, literally when the match started, like everyone had the stealth buff, but everyone became was no longer translucent. It's like, nope, like you have the buff, but we don't grant you the rank of stealth. Like, go fuck yourself. But yeah, like that's a counter that I was exploring back when Bad Batch came out, and I think Fugitive Omega is adding some interesting things that I think that there is. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Like, of course, it's a debuff heavy team that's like willfully going to probably put SLK up to like 50 million bulk. But boy, howdy, would it be cool if that lines up. And just like you're scaling matches, they're scaling, and you both just do some really stupid shit.
Okay. All right, fair enough. Now, as the only other content creator on this podcast, where can the good folks go to find you, Fatal?
Twitch.tv/PlaybookTV.
Very good. Very good. All right, for my part, so lessons learned wise, it was a relatively clean season. A couple risks went awry that I think I had corrected later on, so it's just thinking about how my counters are going to work or not work when we come back to 5 vs 5 because of the loss of bulk. We know from experience, every time we lose a bulk set, it is a seismic shift, and a whole lot of the teams are going to be back on defense that didn't used to be. Like, I'm actually looking forward to the prominence of Jabba on defense again, because he's coming back into vogue for it. Like, it's been awkward for me the last few seasons saving Jabba in a variety of situations. For offense, I much prefer him on defense, but I couldn't justify it if you were going to 65 it on the cheap. So just looking out for the changes yet to come. Got to continue farming defense mods, speed mods, and I think that's mostly what I'm bottled on, because with the characters coming, I feel like the people that I'm going to need to rob, I'm going to be wishing I had more speed and defense. So that's part of my homework. And that's about it from me. So thank you, to Dagger, TJ, and Fatal for hanging out here all night. And I'm going to start wrapping us up. Of course, if you know that I'm out there streaming now, both on Twitch and YouTube, I simulcast that. So twitch.tv/Tassenix, and my YouTube channel is Tassenix Gaming, so look that up there. Regardless, though, the VODs expire off of Twitch in about 2 weeks, but you can always catch the permanent VOD on YouTube. And I go back and add chapters so you don't have to sit there and watch through the whole thing. But aside from that, I do have some other great Swugger-related content up there on my YouTube you might want to check out. My Datacron guide for Set 20, this new Set 20, I made that with Aesop Rock, the #1 Grand Arena player in the world. We've got the mod guide videos on characters and factions that you've requested, my recent GAC Omicron tier list video, whole bunch of stuff up there. Not the least of which being a rebroadcasting point right here for Plotting and Scheming, so you can always catch episodes repeated out there. But this show is natively hosted on Spotify, and wherever you find an episode, you can find the RSS feed link in the description that you can plug into your preferred podcast program and follow us that way. But aside from that, if you've enjoyed the show, you're watching this here on YouTube, please give it a like, hit subscribe if you want to see more. And if you're just gobsmacked and you just want, you like the cut of our jib here, you want to support what I'm doing here with the channel, you got to check out the various means to support the channel. So first is my Cash App. That is $Tassenix. Then I have PayPal. That is tassenix@gmail.com. But if you want to get some enhanced tools to raise your scouting game, early access to some of my content, including Plotting and Scheming, you'll have to check out my Patreon. Patreon.com/Tassenix. For any upwardly mobile Grand Arena player, there is something there of interest to you. At $5 a month, you enter the Tass House at VIP access level, where you get early access to the Plotting and Scheming podcast, which is generally coming out Friday mornings, 8 a.m., My patrons are usually getting it Tuesday night, within hours of us recording it, so you can have that edge going into the first round of the week. And of course, you also get a early access on my Datacron set guide videos and dedicated voice and text chat on Discord, so pop on in and say hi. Thank you so much to Andrew, Arj, Banja, Deadpool Kyle 28, JJ's Productions Twitch, Jobin4527, Johnny B. Ottawa, Miasmal, Musras, Rays Malbus, Sam Vimes, Sheepdog 47, Squed, Stark Strategy Gamer, Sweens 14, and White Wolf. Moving on up to VIP Access Plus, that's $10 a month for a bundled Patreon access to me and to OmegaBot. So if you watch any of my streams, at the start of each one, I pull an OmegaBot report on my opponent. Nothing else gives you such a powerful at-a-glance sense of what your opponent's about, offensively, defensively. Patrons get to pull any number of weeks, greater than one number of weeks, and get a downloadable HTML version of the report with links that you can click that go right back into Swugga.gg or Insight, help you drill down on the particular counters you're interested in, help you save even more time. Thank you so much to Stryker, Eshsotnikam, Dobby, and my newest patron, Snack Attack. Welcome. Welcome to the Tass House. And of course, moving on up to VIP Access Premium, that's $15 a month for the Double Bot Bundle. So, Patreon access to me, to OmegaBot, and to Hot Utils, the #1 tool for your mass mod management and loadout creation. A couple clicks can move you between your Grand Arena, TB, TW, raid mods. You can remod your roster comprehensively like Fatal and TJ do. You can easily slice through a long backlog of mods that you've just been sitting on top of and not getting to. You can just slice through them all in seconds, to say nothing of all of the TW functionality baked into it. Thank you so much to Duckstab, Dark Hug, Ibenek, General Milan, Sir Boss, Quig, Wilco, Frick Frack Paddywhack, Argots, Zoltray, and the Lost Womp Rat for taking that offer. And of course, at the top of the list, Ingesters Club Elite, my #1 supporter, Nomad's Reaper. This madman pops in from time to time and drops hundreds of subs, thousands of biddies all in one go. Incredibly generous support over the years. Thank you so much, my man. And of course, we cannot forget our special thanks. First to Yoda Force, one of my original supporters way back in the day back, bought me the mic that I'm speaking to you on right now, and even though he's long since quit the game, we wish him well from the other side. To Mrs. T, my wife, thank you for all you do in the background, managing our inquisitive, destructive 6-year-old, who would otherwise be trying to rip apart our home, brick by brick, while her dad is being distracted playing a phone game, so thank you for running interference. And of course, to my co-hosts here on Plotting and Scheming, Dagger, TJ, Sasha Aisha, and Fatal. Gentlemen, as always, it's a pleasure and a privilege to record our show together. I learn from you guys every week. Hopefully I can leave the odd tidbit for you guys from time to time. Regardless, our community learns a lot from us. The interactions are overwhelmingly positive. Lot of traffic around our show on my server, on YouTube, on a bunch of places that aren't my spaces, so that's really cool, and you guys are a huge part of that winning recipe. Thank you so much for just showing up. We're almost 2 years into this. All right, time to head back over to the main scene just to say, yeah, it's been a great season. This was an unexpectedly fun season of 5 versus 5 and a fine way to send set 18 off into the sunset. We'll see you guys next week for the preview episode going into this next 3 versus 3 season, season 64, and we will have a special guest. It is a surprise, but you'll like it, I promise. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until next time, it's been real, it's been awesome, it's been real awesome. Take care.